Now that our rig is finished, it's time to clean up our scene for the animator's convenience. There's basically a few steps to this process. We'd first want to lock and hide any channels that shouldn't receive animation so the animator doesn't have a clutter of keyframes to edit in the graph editor. We'd also want to remove anything from the scene that would be a distraction, so any join objects that we won't animate directly should be removed. Same thing goes for our IK handle. And then we'd want to lock down our mesh so that we can conveniently go in and just grab our animation control. So right now we currently cannot do that at all. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll start with our ship control. Typically what I like to do is get rid of all channels again that will not be animated. So that's going to be scale and also the visibility channel. Let's go ahead and right click and choose lock and hide selected. It's getting cut off in the video, but it's right underneath hide selected. Beautiful, so that now adds clarity. How about our global control? You can see it has scale and visibility channels. Typically on the main node, I like to leave scale and also the visibility channel. That way, if we ever want to hide this object just to focus on other assets in our scene, it's a lot easier to do that. But normally, when rigging, what I like to do is create a node above the global control that acts as our main character or object node that everything gets stored underneath. But in our case, it's not necessary. If you'd like to learn more about that type of hierarchy, feel free to take a look at Introduction to Character Rigging. But what we will do is center our global control. Let's go ahead and set it back to the origin, and then we'll bring it back to this point when we're ready to animate our final shot. Now, the pulling we're getting from our joint chain and the IK handle, that's a little distracting, so what I'll do is go ahead and grab our root joint. We'll also grab the IK handle. Let's go ahead and shift select that. Let's add them to the platform layer. So with that selected, we'll just go ahead and right click and choose add selected objects, and now we can go ahead and hide our platform. So we're basically on to that next step of hiding objects that will not either receive animation or that we really do not need to see at this point. So what I like to do is head over to the show menu and first show none. Then at that point, going back to the show menu, and we can tear this off, we could start to bring back the components and the levels we'd like to see. So that's going to be NURBS curves, NURBS surfaces, and also polygonal objects. And remember, we have turned on the groups handle in order to select it faster, so let's go ahead and turn on handles. Great. All right, so at this point, we can make sure that our mesh is not selectable. We could do that a few ways. Remember, from the status bar, you can turn it on from here. But I'd say a faster and more reliable solution would probably be to do that from the layer. Just go ahead and reference it. The reason why is when you restart Maya, of course, the mesh toggle at the top will also be reset. All right, so you can just go ahead and reference the layer and not have to worry about that. All right, well, guess what? Our scene is clean, and we have learned a lot through the rigging section. We've learned how to connect attributes together. We've learned several ways to do that, whether it be via the connection editor or set-driven keys or even expressions. And speaking of expressions, we learned a really neat way to automate animation, so that will save animators a ton of time. They shouldn't have to worry about these type of basic tasks. We should focus on giving them control over the performance that will make everything entertaining and less on spinning turbines. Okay, great. And we've learned also how to just keep our scene clean and animator friendly. If you need to, feel free to refresh on a few of the concepts that we have covered so that you know how to confidently use them to rig your own assets. So that finishes the rigging section, In the next lesson, we move right into animation.